The preseason intensity proves this roster is ready to surprise everyone. Rams House, we have two massive updates today. A former All-Pro defender is still deciding on his return while salary talks stall, and meanwhile, a young backup quarterback is being shopped as a trade asset. Stick around to hear both names. Please subscribe as we push toward 2,000 fans and comment your city so I can see how far our reach goes. Aaron Donald remains the focal point of our team updates as we wait on a decision regarding his potential return to the field. For years, he has anchored the interior of our defense, serving as the heartbeat of this organization with his unmatched intensity and technical mastery in the trenches. Now, the situation rests on his own timeline, with head coach Sean McVay confirming that a final decision is expected only after we wrap up training camp at Loyola Marymount and head back to the facility in Woodland Hills. McVay mentioned it is really more of truly just take it a day at a time, specifically noting that any future conversations must address what his ramp-up would actually look like. And here's why that's a big deal. We are looking at a compressed window where a return would likely materialize just 10 days before our opening matchup against the San Francisco 49ers. I recall how he handled the 2018 holdout, ending things on August 31st, but I am also reminded of 2017 when he held out until September 9th and subsequently missed the opener. Is this the real deal, or are we getting ahead of ourselves expecting him back in uniform this late in the summer? I am excited to see him back, but I also want to pump the brakes a little because Albert Breer highlighted that the financial logistics, specifically how you work out the money part of it and how much you are paying him, still need to be resolved. With our final preseason game against the Chargers approaching this Thursday, the pressure is mounting to see if he chooses to rejoin the roster. Will this veteran leader commit to one more run, or is the chapter closing on his legendary career? Why would we expect a different outcome when the calendar keeps shifting under our feet? It feels like we are living through a slow-motion replay of 2017, waiting for a definitive move that remains elusive. Mike Florio suggested a resolution by mid-August, yet here we are, staring at a blank space on the roster where a legend belongs. Is it possible that the front office is playing a game of chicken with the salary cap that we just cannot see from the outside? Here's the thing nobody wants to say out loud. This wait reflects a massive disconnect between legacy value and the reality of a modern roster. Albert Breer hit the nail on the head regarding the money, noting that figuring out how much you are paying him is a major hurdle. I look at our current depth chart and wonder if the coaching staff is already planning for a world without him, despite what they say publicly. Sean McVay mentioned, it's really more of truly just take it a day at a time, which implies that the door is propped open but nobody is rushing to walk through it. I find that quote incredibly telling because it removes the urgency that fans like me are desperately seeking. If he chooses to sign right after we finish camp at SoFi, he is looking at a 10-day sprint before facing San Francisco. I have seen him conquer impossible odds before, but asking for that level of physical dominance on such a truncated timeline is a massive gamble. Are we really prepared to see him miss another opener? Or does this veteran know exactly what his body needs to endure the grind? My gut tells me this is all about the final compensation package, and until that clears, we are all just guessing. Now, let's get into the update regarding Stetson Bennett, because the front office is currently considering trading our backup quarterback before we hit final roster cuts. It is a bold potential move surfacing right after our preseason finale this Thursday. I have been watching the depth chart closely, and while Bennett has been in line to handle the backup duties, the emergence of rookie Ty Simpson has clearly put that role in jeopardy. Think about it this way. If the team decides to move on from Bennett, we still maintain veteran insurance with Jimmy Garoppolo behind Matthew Stafford. My gut tells me this is all about asset management. Rams Wire reports that because the league-wide quarterback market is thin, Bennett has become one of our most valuable tradable pieces. Is he really on his way out, or are we just seeing the team explore every possible avenue to maximize value? I'm excited to see what happens with our roster, but I also want to pump the brakes a little because the same report notes we probably won't move him after all. Still, the fact that he is being discussed as a trade chip confirms his stock is rising. Watching him grow since he arrived at SoFi has been a unique journey, but I understand the brutal business side of the league. Does the coaching staff feel they have enough coverage at the position to gamble on a trade? This is a tough spot for a young player, but these are the hard decisions necessary for sustained success. I personally believe this demonstrates a front office that is constantly looking for ways to bolster our depth everywhere. Whether he stays or goes, the competition is exactly what we need to elevate the squad as we prepare for the long season ahead. Trading a signal caller in late August feels like a classic high-stakes maneuver, especially when a team identifies a specific asset that others might covet during the preseason scramble. Moving him would certainly generate some draft capital, providing our front office with additional flexibility to address weaknesses elsewhere on the roster. The truth is, many franchises across this league are currently desperate for competent quarterback depth, and my assessment is that this scarcity inflates his market value far beyond what we initially projected. Could we really afford to let such a tradable chip just walk away for nothing? On the other hand, the risk here involves thinning out our own room at a position where injury volatility remains a constant threat. With rookie Ty Simpson pushing hard and veteran Jimmy Garoppolo already serving as our safety net, there is a clear logic behind keeping those two instead of hanging on to our current backup. I have been watching the competition closely, and while the rookie shows promise, losing a player who understands our system creates a vacuum if the injury bug strikes Matthew Stafford. Analysts note that teams are frequently scouting for signal callers who have already absorbed NFL-level coaching, making his profile rather attractive to scouts. I am excited to see how this unfolds, but I also want to pump the brakes a little because Rams Wire correctly points out that moving him is far from a certainty. The way I see it, if a team offers a premium pick, you make the call, but otherwise, you keep the insurance. Is this just posturing from our leadership, or are they truly preparing to cut ties? Ultimately, these tough calls are what separate stable organizations from the rest of the pack as we approach the final whistle. When you put both of today's stories together, here's the picture that emerges for the Los Angeles Rams as we stare down the barrel of final roster cuts at SoFi. These updates highlight a front office hyper-focused on extreme efficiency, whether it involves balancing the salary cap for a returning legend or maximizing trade value for a backup quarterback. My take is simple. This team is prioritizing tactical flexibility to remain competitive. And this is the part that gets me, because while these moves feel cold, they represent the hard-nosed decisions required for sustained success. If the team deals a signal caller in a thin market, it generates draft capital, but it also forces us to rely on our veteran insurance policy. Meanwhile, waiting for an answer from Aaron Donald suggests the compensation package is far more complex than a simple contract figure. Do you believe we have enough depth at quarterback to survive a trade involving Stetson Bennett? And would you be comfortable if our defensive anchor decides to skip the season opener against San Francisco once again? I really want to hear what you think in the comments below. These two scenarios define our short-term identity, showing how our leadership team navigates the fine line between sentiment and fiscal responsibility. Every roster decision at this stage carries weight, and seeing these threads come together makes me realize just how much is riding on these final few days. If you enjoyed the video, do not forget to like it and subscribe to the channel. I'm still pushing toward our first 2,000 subscribers, and every one of you helps me get there. Rams House. I'll see you in the next one. I'll be back later to update you with the latest Los Angeles Rams news.